Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Board again. Today I'm going to show you how to wire an outlet correctly and also give you some background on what the different colors mean on each side. So here we go. So obviously standard outlet that you put in your house, that you have in your house I should say. Now if you ever had to change one out or just even were curious about it, you're going to see different colors, right? So you got your gold color, you got silver, and you got this green down here. So the green is for ground. So that's where your bare copper goes or the green wire goes. Now on the silver side, hopefully you can make out the color pretty well, but if you see them live or in person, this silver or these two silver screws, they are for your neutral. So typically it's the white wire, okay? And on the other side, they're gold. Gold is for your hot. And you're probably wondering why there's two. So when you wire an outlet, you actually only have one wire typically going to the gold and one wire going to the silver or the neutral, right? Well, there is a small tab right here on both sides. That tab could be broken off. And what that does, it now separates the two plugs or the two outlets or whatever you want to call them. I mean, everyone gives it different names. And I'm sorry if I'm not using the proper name, but either way. So if you take that tab off, you break it off, you've now separated them. So if you land a hot and a neutral on the top and you break the tabs off on both sides, you won't have power or anything going on down here. It will just be to this one. Now, you're wondering what's the reason for this? Well, if you've ever been in a house that has an outlet upside down like this, that's exactly what they did. They broke them off and they're gonna have constant power going to one and the other one's gonna have cabling going or wiring going to an outlet switch that turns it on and off. That's why sometimes you'll go into like a bedroom, for example, all the outlets will look like this except for one. And you'll plug something into it and you won't have power to it. You won't have electricity going to it. That's because it's wired to a switch on your wall, a light switch, and that will actually turn it on and off. And it separates them. So you'll have one that's live all the time for plugging in anything you want, and then you'll have one that's attached to a switch. So that's more of the reasoning why you have this tab. You can break them off, separate them, and you'll have essentially two different lines going. All right. So let's get into the actual wiring of this. So typically you have your wire that looks like this, your conductors. You got your hot, black, your white, neutral, and your bare or green, which is your ground. Now, just for warning, sometimes you might even have red instead of black, but typically it's black, white, and bare. So when you go to wire these, you have two options that you can use. You can either land them on the screw or you can stab them back here. Now, stabbing them back here is not a good idea just because they have been known to come loose. They're not really secure and you're at the mercy of whatever was built inside, versus when you land them on your screw, that's more based on how tight you got it, how well you essentially placed it in there, and you can physically see how well you placed it in there. So a lot of electricians will tell you do not stab them. A lot of houses I've heard have burned down because of these eventually go bad, come loose, they work out, and well, there you go, you'll have a short, start even a fire, arc and spark. So I recommend avoiding them, even though it's tempting. You might even see some houses, even new builds, that they do that with. I recommend if you see that in your house, change them out, take them out from the back if you can. And you can stick a small screwdriver in this tiny little hole and they'll pop out. Take them out and rewire them, land them on the screws. They're way better. So let's show you how to properly land them here. Now, you do have a little diagram, and hopefully you can see that on here, this right there. And that tells you how much you should strip. So it would look kind of like this, like right there, not stripped enough, right? Now, let's use a common. strip just right. See, that tells you exactly how much you should strip to fold over into a U, and then you will land it. So it should look something like this. Right? And then we'll just tighten that down. And there you go. Now, if you guys noticed, here's another little tip. I use a flathead screwdriver, right? And you can use them. They have an area for them, right? But you can't tighten them down as well. And the flathead could skip, right? Same thing when you use a Phillips. A lot of people use Phillips, and you can tighten down pretty well as well. But these are made for them to be used with a Robinsons, or better yet, these little guys. Klein makes these, and so does Milwaukee. Milwaukee calls them the ECX2s, I believe. Or sorry, ECX1. The 2 is actually slightly bigger tip, but similar. And Klein calls them the combination tip. But these, let's swap it out, fit perfectly in there for maximum torque. As you can tell, I was able to get, I'd say a quarter turn at least. So I recommend get these tips. They sell them just about everywhere. Get them online as well. But that'll get you your maximum torque on here. Another thing that you got to be careful with. So if you're looking at this as well, see how you have all this exposed copper? You don't want that. When you land these, and I'm just going to show you on here, I know this is not a neutral or what have you. When you have these, you want them to barely be past or right on the edge, right? You don't want them like this. Or worse yet, let me snip this off real quick just so you can see a little better. But you have that. And then some people do this. Sorry, I'm gonna loosen this up a little so I can get it in there. I've seen people land their cabling or their wiring like this. Now you're saying, what's wrong with that? Well, you have all that insulation under the screw, right? So when you have your insulation under the screw like that, you're not gonna tighten down on the copper. That can also come loose. You don't have a secure connection. You don't have a good connection. That can cause also some arcing, some sparking, some loose connections. You don't want that, and you definitely don't want that. That also, if anything comes and rubs against this, it can arc and spark, cause a short. So avoid those two connections. Your best connection will be one that doesn't exceed and doesn't get crimped down on your screw. So that's pretty much it, folks. I hope that was helpful. That was just very basic stuff about your outlets in your house. Like I said, just be careful. If you ever get a chance, check out your outlets. Make sure you don't have any of those mistakes. Once again, you don't want too much exposed copper. You definitely don't want any of the jacket under the screw. Avoid, or if you have them, change them out. Any cabling that got stabbed in the back to your screws to have a secure fit. And then, once again, pick the right type of screwdriver or tip. All of these tips will work, and I'm not showing a screwdriver. I don't have screwdrivers for all of them, but I do have the interchangeable tips. But all of them technically work when you want to land the cable on your outlets. But the best for the job is the ECX or the combination bit. If you can get a hold of them, use it. Second in place would be the Robinsons or the square bit, a little more common than the ECX or combination bit. And then just about everyone has your Phillips and your flathead. But once again, you won't have that torque. So try to go with these if you can. Worst comes to worst, I suppose you can use these. Just make sure you have a secure connection, because like I said, you won't get that torque. You won't crimp down on that wire as well as with these two. So, all right, folks. So hopefully you like this. If you like this, hit the like, please subscribe, help the channel grow some more, and we'll catch you next time when we're just aboard again, making another video. Later.